Hey guys, it's Brad from GeorgiaProbateResource.com. Thanks for checking out this video. So today we've got another one of our probate stories, and just got an idea for this last night. So I want to share a situation that we're dealing with. So we're working on a deal where there was a family that had a property. And there was a brother and a sister, and then obviously they had two parents. Their dad died a long time ago, and mom died in, I think it was 2015 is when mom died. Okay. Dad passes away, house goes to mom, mom lives in the house. And then while mom was sick, her son and his wife moved into the house to help care for her. The other child, or his sister, lived out of state, in another state. And anyways, we'll get more into that later. But okay, so son moves in with mom, takes care of mom. Mom passes away, and son and his wife continue to live in the house. Son files for probate after mom's death, and petitions to be the administrator of the estate. Mom did not have a will. Their dad had a will, but the mom did not have a will. So he had to petition to be the administrator. So he petitions to be the administrator. And then sister decides to fight him on it. Okay. Doesn't want him to be administrator. He has a rebuttal, or she has a rebuttal to it. Ultimately, she ends up seeking counsel to represent herself. And they go back and forth in the courts. And then ultimately, brother does get appointed as administrator, after which the sister said she wanted to be the administrator. And the brother wrote this 2-page long rebuttal contesting the fact that his sister was not fit to be administrator. And the main message of it was that A, the sister was never around, even when mom was alive. B, him and his wife took care of mom. His wife even quit her job so that she could be full-time caretaker for his mom. Okay, so his wife quit her job. Also, sister never pitched in a dime to help with anything. So he paid out of his own pocket to pay the mortgage payment, to maintain the property, to do all these things. Because remember, he had been living there for a number of years. I think he lived there for about a year or two before his mom passed away. They sold their house, actually, because in the rebuttal, they had sold their property to then become mom's caretaker. So that was evident right there. They sold their house and moved in with her. Okay. It wasn't like he was just a perpetual renter his whole life and was just looking for a free place to live. Like, he legit sold his house. Him and his wife sold their house, and then they moved in. So anyways, court ultimately approves brother to be, or son, brother, whatever you want to call it, to be the administrator of the estate. Okay, so now a few years goes by, and was the son doing the best job at being the administrator of the estate? I mean, that's arguable. After speaking to him and getting to know him, I can tell he's just kind of a little bit of a scatterbrain. Super nice guy. We had a lengthy conversation with him actually last night. Very nice guy. Just seems like a little bit of a scatterbrain, a little bit. Also, he said he runs his own business, and I can relate to that. I'm a little bit of a scatterbrain myself. It's funny the things I can remember and what I can't remember, and so I can, I guess, kind of relate to him a little bit. I run my own business. If you ever run your own business, there's 1,000 things going on, and you're wearing all the hats. And even with employees, sometimes you're still having to fill in and do a lot of roles. It's not really something you can turn off and turn on. I used to work a corporate America job and come home every night, and I could just turn off work at, 5 o'clock and, hang out. Like, when you own your own business, it's not always easy to turn things off and turn them back on. It's not the same as if you just have a job that you can show up for and get a paycheck. It's not the same. Those of you who are entrepreneurs and own businesses, you can relate to this. Those of you who've never done that, you probably don't understand what we're talking about, but that's another story for another day. So basically, he is administrator for a few years, and ultimately, also, mom was a hoarder, and they had to clean this house out, and there was a substantial amount of stuff out of the house. And him and his wife spent their own time and their own money on dumpsters and donating things and time and effort to clean this house out. They got it relatively cleaned out. They even let his sister come in and take whatever she wanted out of the house. They said she showed up with a U-Haul truck, and actually the only reason she showed up with the U-Haul truck was because she wanted to go get a piece of furniture from another friend's house nearby and scheduled a trip to come down and get that furniture. And then, oh, by the way, while I'm in town, I'll swing by mom's house and grab stuff. They go back into court, and sister is essentially wanting to sell the house because she wants the money. Brother is still living in the house. And sister decides that brother's not doing his job as the administrator and that they need to sell this house. And this is all he said, she said, right? This is what a lot of these situations get into. It's just he said, she said. So his side of the story, and remember, there's two sides to every story, okay? He says, look, I wanted to sell the house, but sister thinks the house is worth this much money, and I know the house is worth this much money, and brother is also in the contracting business, in the repair construction business, and brother says, look, this house is going to take, mom was a hoarder, had a bunch of cats, the house is in disrepair, it's got cat pee everywhere, it's got junk everywhere, it's in bad shape, it's going to take, and we spoke to him last night about it again, and we saw some pictures or whatever of the house, and that rehab is every bit of $100,000 rehab. I know that sounds like crazy to a lot of people, but surprisingly, a lot of these houses that we buy, especially if we get a full rehab on a house, like taking everything out, replacing everything, you can spend $100,000 really easy. So we looked at the pictures and everything of the house and looked through the house. Actually, the way we got this lead is one of my friend of mine, or he's kind of one of our private investors who actually invests some money in the business. It was someone he knew. Okay, so we get this lead, and we look at it, and anyways, this thing's every bit of 75 to 100 grand. I'm leaning more towards 100 grand on a rehab. 75 on the low end. I mean, again, there's still a lot of stuff in the house, and it's really hard to tell when you got a bunch of stuff in the house. In fact, we just bought another hoarder house recently, got it all cleaned out. Once I got everything out, I found a foundation issue that I just never would have seen because there was so much stuff covering up the foundation and the floor and the walls and all that I totally missed it because I couldn't see it when all the junk was in the house, right? Well, there you go. There's another, in that other house, that's another $10,000 to my rehab budget right there just to fix the foundation problem. Every bit of 100 grand. And basically, brother and sister are arguing about the reason the house is not sold is because brother and sister are arguing about the value of the house. Sister thinks the house is worth this much money. Brother thinks the house is worth this much money. He goes and gets an offer from a mom and pop investor, from a real estate agent, and from an iBuyer. He got an offer from like Open Door or OfferPad. The Open Door offer, they actually declined to purchase the house because the level of the rehab. Most people don't understand that these iBuyers, OfferPad, Open Door, all those companies, they have sort of a cap on their rehab. So if your house is in like really bad shape, they won't buy it. It's too much work for them. So in this case, it was a little bit too much work, but they had made an offer. They said, this is our offer, and then this is our rehab. They were able to give him a roundabout number, right? So brother was right about what the house was worth and what it would take to get the house to market. Sister was just on cloud nine, doesn't understand like how any of this works, and thinks the house is worth $1 million. I'm just making up $1 million is worth a lot less than that, but thinks it's worth this much money, and it's just not, right? So they're back and forth. So then sister fires her attorney, seeks another counsel. Brother has to hire his own counsel. So basically, at the end of the day, brother and sister went through multiple attorneys representing each other's side. They fought this out in the probate court for years, and then finally, just last year in 2022, it was ultimately decided that they had to appoint a court-appointed administrator. Basically, they had an attorney that was appointed as the administrator of the estate. So ultimately, it came down to the fact that they had to appoint an attorney and then pay that attorney money to be the administrator of the estate, because the both of them could not come to an agreement as to who the proper administrator should be. Back and forth, back and forth. So then the administrator finally gets the probate finished. And then it came down to having to sell the house. And basically the administrator said, you know what? We're just deeding the property into 50-50 ownership between you and your brother and sister. We're 50-50 owners. You guys deal with this on your own. This estate needs to get settled out. So they basically just deeded the property over. Also, there was a mortgage on the property, very small balance owed, not much left owed on the mortgage, but the brother was continuing to pay the mortgage because he did live in the house. So there's still a mortgage in place. Again, not much money owed on it. It's almost paid off. So mortgage went with the property. They deeded it over to brother and sister. Now they're 50-50 joint owners of the property. And basically the probate court is like, ball's in your court now, you deal with the house. So a year later, after the estate is settled out in probate, they're still fighting over this house, right? So we speak to brother and he says, you know, she got this guy that says that this house is worth $380,000 all fixed up, maybe $400,000 all fixed up. And we ran the comparable sales on the property. Look, we do this for a living, right? This is my business. And I look at the numbers and we're analyzing the numbers. And this house is worth $325 at best, all fixed up. $325, right? So I don't know where this other guy that sister's talking to got this number of $380, but they're going to be in for a rude awakening when they put all this money into this house and they turn around and try to list this house for $380. It's not going to sell. It's not worth that much money, and it's just going to sit on the market. And so many flippers and so many people make this mistake that they don't accurately evaluate properties, and they're just on cloud nine about what the house is really worth. And they go to list it and they dump all this money into it, and then they realize that it's not selling, and they just sit it on the market, and then they fire their real estate agent, and then they fire the next real estate agent, and they fire the next real estate agent, because it's always the real estate agent's fault, when in fact the problem the entire time was that they were priced too high. Just lower your price. Real estate is a supply and demand game. There's a certain point where you lower your price to a certain point where someone will buy it, right? But so many people think that, oh, well, you know, it's going to sell for $380. Let's just keep going. And the problem is, especially in the hot real estate market that we were in, we're not in the hot real estate market anymore. But if your house didn't sell in like 3 days or 2 days or even a day, you're overpriced. Now the market's changed to a little bit where basically our average days on market is about 30 days at this point. So if your house doesn't sell within a month, you're overpriced. That's your problem. Drop your price and it'll fix everything. But they count their eggs before they hatch, and she did the same thing. So this house is just going to sit on the market. And again, like I mentioned before, it's going to take $100,000 to rehab this house. Okay, so at one point in time, brother got a cash offer from an investor like us for $150,000 cash, right? So they had a small balance on the mortgage and $150,000. They were going to walk away with over $100,000 in their pocket. Well, to split between the two of them, right? $50,000 a piece. So let's do the math here. So let's say sister decides to, basically what she did is she got brother evicted out of the house, and now she's going to rehab this house with this investor partner she knows, and they're going to sell it for $380,000. They're going to be in for a rude awakening because it's only going to sell for $325,000. Okay. So let's do the math here and think about this. It's going to take 6 months easy to rehab this house if the people know what they're doing because of the level of the rehab. It's going to take them 6 months to do it. They're going to ultimately put it on the market. I ran the comps. It'll ultimately sell for $325 at the end of the day. That's what the house is worth. Okay. So they sell it for $325. Again, it's going to take easy $100,000 to rehab this house. So $325 minus 100 grand is $225,000. Okay. Then you got realtor commissions to sell it. You've got insurance costs. You've got all this stuff. So you're basically at the end of the day going to get about 200 grand out of the house, right? So ultimately there would be a net of 200 grand, right? And then she's got this investor partner and she has to pay him his cut of the profit. So the crazy part about all of this is that she went through all these fights. She hired an attorney and battled this guy out in court, got her brother kicked out of the house, and now she's going to end up netting. If you do all the math and you work all the math out, after she pays her investor friend to split it, they were going to split the profits 50-50 and then give her brother his cut or whatever. Basically, at the end of the day, they're going to net a little bit more money than if they had just taken the $150,000 cash offer that they got from the other investor. So yeah, they'll make a little bit more money by doing this flip and rehabbing it themselves. But again, when you factor in all of the legal fees that brother and sister had to pay to fight one another in court, when you factor in the time and the effort and all of this stuff over the last multiple years, they should have just taken the $150,000 cash offer to begin with and been done with it. But now, yeah, they're making more money before, but they're forgetting about all of the money that they spent to make that money. So there's a famous saying, I say this all the time, and I don't know who eventually said this quote, but you're tripping over dollars to pick up nickels. There's dollars in your face, and you're tripping over the dollars because you have your eye on that nickel and you're trying to pick up the nickels there, and you're tripping over dollars to pick up nickels, right? And this is exactly what they're doing. They're tripping over dollars to pick up nickels. And they're losing sight of the big picture that if they just taken the $150,000 cash offer from the investor, let him deal with it, let him rehab it. Honestly, I looked at the numbers and I'm like, that was a fair offer. 150 grand was a fair offer. Because again, they were each going to walk away with, I think it was $60,000 in their pocket when it was all said and done. Because again, this investor cash offer, there was no agent commissions involved. It was just an off-market, easy sort of deal. That's what we do at our business. I'm an agent too, so I can list the property for you, or I can sell it, give you a cash offer. But again, there were no fees or commissions or anything involved. So each of them was going to pocket about $60,000 in their pocket and walk away and be done with this, right? And they fought this out for years and years and years in court and spent tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees, battling each other out over a few bucks. So really the moral of this story is it really worth it to you? And I think at the end of the day, and this happens a lot, it gets to the point where the families are battling out and it's not about the money anymore. It's about I'm going to stick it to my brother because he pissed me off, right? And that's what it comes down to. And the question you have to ask yourself, is it really worth it? Is the revenge really worth it at the end of the day? But you put yourself and your family and this time through all this effort to fight each other over this. At the end of the day, was it really, really worth it? And that's a question for you to ask. But I know this video is really long, but this was a crazy story and I had to share it. We deal with these actually all the time. We get involved with these families who are fighting with one another. And it's just like, you're like the referee in the middle. You're like, guys. Like let's stop, step back and think about this. Is it really worth it? Like, what are you going to accomplish out of this? Is it really worth it? And only you can answer that question. But I encourage you, if you're going through this right now, to just stop and think about it. Unfortunately, probably the only people that are going to be watching this video is the other person, the other sibling who's getting bullied around in this situation. And it's probably not the bully that's going to be watching this video. But if you are the bully and maybe you don't know you're the bully, just stop and think about it. Is it worth ruining the relationship with your brother or your sister over this? Like, is it worth it? Only you can answer that question. But sometimes it's not. It's just money. It's just money. That's all it is. Money is just a thing. And I know to some people, money's a lot of things. But if you put that much value in money, money's going to control you. You either learn to control money or money will control you. So are you letting money control you or are you controlling the money? Answer that question for yourself. I hope this video opened some people's eyes. Maybe it was entertaining to you. I've got more of these stories. We've done a lot of these crazy deals, and I appreciate your time. So again, guys, I'm Brad with GeorgiaProbateResource.com. We're a real estate solutions company in Metro Atlanta. We buy houses all over the state of Georgia, and we specialize in the world of probate and inheritance properties. So if you want an easy, fast cash offer for the place, you just want to be done with it, we'll even buy it with all the stuff in it. We'd be happy to make you an offer on the house. Or if you want to go the traditional route and you want to list it with an agent, get top dollar out of it, get as much as you can out of it. I'm an agent too myself with One Source in Woodstock. I'd be happy to talk to you about maybe listing the property. So I appreciate your time. Thanks for checking out the video. Hope you have a nice day. Bye-bye.